Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Welcome, Jeri Lynch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For those of you who can't see her, so if before Jeri came on, here's what I knew. She'd be in leopard print. She'd have something that showed her voluptuous chest, which is gorgeous, and usually some sort of really high heels.
Not today.
And you used to have more long, pointy fingernails. You kind of remind me of like a Brooklyn gal.
That's so funny that you say that.
You
Being
could have been
a
in
Valley girl. I mean, but when I was a Valley girl and I grew up in Encino, people would ask me all the time if I was from New York.
Oh my gosh, you look like Brooklyn. You look like you could have been on the show The Sopranos.
Isn't that funny? And I didn't go to New York until much later in my life. I did a deposition in New York. So I was already a lawyer. I'm a recovering lawyer, by the way.
I didn't even know you were a lawyer.
I'm recovering, I say. But yes, but at the time, it was the first time I went. I must have been like 24. And I just loved it. I loved New York. Loved everything about it. I felt like I belonged. So I don't know, maybe some past life I lived in New York.
That's so interesting because I'm from Kansas. And when I came here, I was home. I felt like this is my place. This is where it feels like home to me. So that's so funny. You're from LA,
right?
Which is people's dream destination. You go to New York, which is also like, the pulse of the world.
Yeah, I love it.
And you felt at home there.
Felt at home, and I travel a lot. I leave LA a lot. People ask me, how do I like LA? I said, well, it's my home, but I do spend a lot of time leaving. So.
Because you had a big fill here. You grew up here.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And it's nice. I love my home. I love my area. We don't live very far apart, but it's a great base. And
are you in Encino or Sherman Oaks?
I'm in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah, you're not far at all.
But I was born in Encino Hospital.
I heard you say Encino girl, and that was your turf.
Hey, listen, we were the original Valley Girls, I think. It was right before Moon Zappa did her song. And she's a little bit younger, so I know she was
following you.
Exactly.
She was the one she was looking up to you in the mall when she wrote that song.
And we were getting our nails done practically every day, it felt like back then too.
Oh, that's such a riot.
Some things don't change.
Okay, so you just talked a little bit about travel. Now, when you walked in my front door, you said, I just got back from China. Now, two things I know about you. You're going to have leopard print and you're going to have just been somewhere fantastic. And every time I see you, it's the same thing. You are always just coming back from somewhere.
I am. And I hope I'm not showing signs of jet lag and a little bit of exhaustion. But when you do stuff like that, then of course you pay. You've got to come back. You've got to catch up. You've got to do all the things that you have to do. Life doesn't stop. And it's great, but it's challenging too.
And then what else did I say when you said that? I just got back from China. I said, how are you so rich? How do you travel all the time? Where does your money come from? And you're like, I'm not. And then you pulled up an app and you showed me a trip for 10 days, airfare included to China for $500.
Yeah, it was amazing. Well, let me tell you.
And then I said, what happened? You said, Groupon.
Oh, yeah.
Travel. And I was like, I didn't even know that existed.
Well, let me tell you, because I do get to travel. It's really a great time in my life. I'm very lucky. My sons have graduated from college. I'm not working as much as I used to, although I still am working quite a bit. But I get to travel with my mom, who was a former flight attendant, and she owned a travel agency. So she's been to 130 countries. But there's some places she hasn't been. So she has a bucket list. So I'm like, yeah, I'll help you with that bucket list.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's great. I think that's where I got my love of travel and wanderlust. But then there are some that I want to do on my own. I love adventure travel. I love backpacking. And she doesn't really want to do that now at her age.
So when you're backpacking by yourself, are you just putting up a tent by yourself and sleeping by yourself in the middle of unknown jungle?
I will tell you that I've never done that yet. And it is on my list to do because it's something I think everybody should do. I haven't done it yet. I basically go camping with people and we're far enough away that it feels like we're alone, but we're not really. Yeah, it's great.
But there's something about being alone, setting up camp and not being a native of the area where you don't know what
well, not
you're
only
not
that,
trained.
If you're in, like, say, the John Muir Trail, and I did Whitney a couple of years ago, several years now. I mean, at night, there's no lights. There's no lights. It's as dark as can be. I mean, I think it would be a very good challenge to do. So right now I do go with people. But like I said, my mom doesn't like to do that. But when my mom travels, she likes to be comfortable. She likes her first class. And she, we really get some trips that are really planned out. And, they can be kind of pricey if you're working with a travel agent, or I plan them. So the one that was China, when I found it on Groupon, I mean, it was like, I'm going to do this just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to invite anybody because I don't want to be responsible for a really crappy trip.
Yeah.
I mean, $549. My Rolling Stones
that doesn't even
tickets
pay
were like,
for one airfare.
No, I mean, everything we buy is more expensive than that. My son's graduation dinner in New York far exceeded that.
Why did China want people to come that bad? They give it for $500 off.
I think China's a lot about PR and propaganda, and I do think they want Americans to come, and they subsidize the trip. So do the Silk Factory, which, by the way, I brought you something from the Silk Factory.
You did?
Yeah, and I want to give it to you because I see that you're wearing something, a little animal
Wait, you
print.
were in China at a Silk Factory and thought of me?
I did. And not only did I get this for you because it's a little bit of leopard skin, but it's all about heart. And you love opening your heart and sharing your heart.
Oh my gosh, you guys, she got me the most beautiful, if you can't see, silk scarf from China with a heart, which also this reminds me of you as well with the pattern.
And I love those colors. So
Thank
cool.
you.
You're welcome. So the Silk Factory sponsored part of the trip, and the Jade Factory and the Tea Factory. And really all I wanted to do was go to the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
I did make it there. It was fantastic. Did not make it Tiananmen Square.
Wait, what's the Great Wall of China? What happens there? Do you pray or you just smile at each other? What happens?
You hike it. And I went to one place where they had the 12 towers, and I did all the 12 towers. It was great. It was the first one in my group up there, which is great because my group had a lot of people that were like 20 and 25. Some people went on this trip who never traveled out of the country before.
Wow.
Because it was so affordable. And it turned out to be just an amazing experience.
So, Jeri, just an invitation for you and to quiet the mind, part of your mind that says, I'm responsible for someone else's happiness. If this $500 is a shitty trip, invite me.
I will.
Because if it was shitty, I would still laugh and enjoy every second.
I believe that you would be that person who would do
love it.
As long as you know in advance, you're like, what do I have to lose? I'm taking a week. It was amazing. And, it wasn't my first Groupon trip. My first Groupon trip was in May, and I bought a hike to Everest Base Camp.
Oh my gosh, you're doing things that I want to do.
That was amazing. I spent a month in Nepal, mostly in Kathmandu. I did fly to Bhutan, which is a trip that I think you would love. Bhutan they don't go by the gross national product. They are gross national happiness. That's what they aim for. That's their mission statement of their country, per se. And they're carbon negative. I mean, it's an amazing place to go to.
I want to go.
You would love it. It's in the Himalayas, so very close. And all of that was on Groupon, which, by the way, until then, which my girlfriend had bought this or seen it.
All those three places?
Yeah.
Were in one trip?
Yes. Well, Nepal was Kathmandu. It's like the capital there. And that's how you get to Everest, one of the ways to get to Everest. And Bhutan is a country that's in the Himalayas too. So it was great.
What did you walk? Did you hike something?
You hike to Everest Base Camp. Takes 8. First of all,
what?
Wait.
You went to base camp?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I planned to do some other hiking before that, but this opportunity came up. Like I wanted to do Patagonia and Kilimanjaro, and then somebody said they were going, and I'm like, okay, change everything around. So you go into and fly out of the most dangerous airport in the world, Lukla.
Why is it dangerous?
Yeah, it's people crash. I mean, just about...
It's tricky to get in and out?
It's tricky. It is because of the Himalayas. And it's very tricky. I mean, the minister of tourism from Nepal was just killed like maybe 7 months ago looking for another airport in the helicopter in Lukla. And
Holy Toledo.
So that was, not something I was looking forward to. But then you hike for 8 days and you stay in what are called tea houses. They're really like, the only thing that makes some tea houses is they have tea in them. But, tea house sounds quaint. Sounds quaint.
It's just like
These
a
are
shack
like hostels. Actually, as you get closer to Mount Everest, they become crack houses. So, I mean, it's a little kooky. But 8 days to get there. And then you're at 17,600 feet.
8 days to get there because you can't breathe.
Well, you take your time and you acclimatize for a couple days. And you go through some really cool places. You meet people from all over the world. I'd say even less people. I met less Americans. I mean, a lot of people from just everywhere. And then about 5 days to get back. A lot of people want to fly out instead of hiking back, but we hiked back. It was an amazing experience. I would really do it again.
I'll go with you.
Yeah, you would love it. I mean,
and then can we go to Bhutan after?
Yeah, Bhutan. And there's a lot of great places to hike in Nepal.
So I want to tell you something I find fascinating about you. And we're going to get to the subject matter of what I want to learn more about and share about your foundation.
Thank you.
Is that you are a spicy, on the go, fun as all get out. When I see you at a party, I'm so excited.
I know, me too.
Because I know good times are going to be had. That there's someone who can hang with me in a really fun, amazing way, right?
Thank you.
To just know life is great and enjoy the moment. Now, the weird part of the dichotomy of that is where you have come from. And I'm so interested as we share the story of your son, Connor, how you got from shattered bones on the ground, couldn't breathe, to living a very beautiful, full, and happy life.
I got chills.
That's what I, and if I could say another thing before this, before we talk about your heart and your mission, that when I did not know you, and this is before I met you at your event, I didn't know you. I didn't know your son. My kids were not at Notre Dame. Somebody mentioned Jeri Lynch, her son passed, Connor, and my body lit up. And I thought, wow, somehow I'm going to be involved with her, or somehow I'm going to meet her, or maybe, I don't know what it is, but I knew there was a connection with you, although I didn't know who you were. And then we ended up doing Dave and I did your son's charity at the park.
You know, it's an interesting story of how this came about. And I don't remember quite everything, but so I'll start. It'll be 9 years on Saturday. Connor was 16, he was a junior at Notre Dame High School, and he was doing cross-country running. And he went across Woodman, very close to where we are, and he was killed by a 18-year-old distracted, hit-and-run, non-licensed driver.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Well, just wait for 1 minute, because the thing about you and your son, for me and most people, you're on your freaking phone. And to hear how your life changed because someone was on their phone behind a giant death machine.
Right. And maybe not even on their phone, but maybe looking for their phone. I mean, I have a girlfriend who was reaching for her phone, and she killed a 73-year-old man in a crosswalk. She's from LA. She had kids in her minivan. So you're right. It's the major distractions, but absolutely didn't know anything about it at the time. I found out later he was actually killed during what's called National Teen Safe Driving Week, which we're going into. So,
wow.
So let me tell you, because this connects with you, and then we can go back if that's okay.
Yes,
because I just remembered this story yesterday when I was thinking about where did I meet Leigh. So what happened was, my house, talk about a messy life. My house for like a month had people in it. It was so many people, which was great.
Gosh,
Thank God I let people in, because I don't know how I would have done anything. And it's never been the same. Pictures were never put back. I mean, 9 years later, there's still like a shrine on my table and things. The pantry's never been. It was perfect, like before this happened, in my estimation. Like the kids couldn't put anything anywhere without having to put it back.
How many kids do you when Connor was like?
Three. Connor was my oldest.
Okay.
So anyway, flowers are coming. So many amazing people. Cards, which I've put in a box that someday I'll read. I don't even know if I got through them all. But there was this one time where I went downstairs and I looked at a card on some flowers. I mean, really, there were so many flowers. And it said something beautiful, but also from Shane's inspiration. And I was like, Shane's inspiration, I don't know what that is. I'm just have a moment, I had time. And I actually looked it up during all of this. I didn't look up anything else. And I saw about Catherine and Scott and Shane's Inspiration, which is a great organization that I think is how I found you. So at some point, I start working with the Shanes, and they do inclusive playgrounds, and we have been to some events. Anyway, David was doing something for one of their runs. And I thought, I'm going to see, because we all go to St. Francis de Sales, which is where Connor's funeral was. There were people.
Did he go to St. Francis?
Yeah, we did. That was our parish.
That's
And then there were people outside, the church. It was like 1,000. It was crazy.
at his funeral.
At
it
his
was
funeral,
packed outside thousands.
I'll never forget. That's really where I talked to Ben Vereen a lot. We could talk about that later. But anyway, so I wanted David to maybe speak at a graduation. I don't know if you recall. And so David came over to the school, which was right down the street when I was running Pinecrest down the street. And he was going to do the graduation speech for middle school. And then he had to do Bonnaroo. Do you remember? He had to go. So he couldn't actually be there. But we ended up doing a video. It was really great. So fast forward, I think then that's how I knew him. And he told me about you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that woman, 5 kids, all this information. I really wanted to meet you. And I don't know precisely when we got to finally meet because I was really looking forward to it. But I think it was at a Shane's Inspiration event. So it must have been.
I think so.
And then I wanted to reel you guys in to help me with the runs.
Yeah.
Because not pretty soon after Connor died, let me say. And it was maybe within a year, I just knew I wanted to do a run. Or I wanted to raise awareness. And it kind of was about Connor. I mean, it was called, we in honor of Connor, this 5K, which grew into being about really anybody who's been affected as a family member or lost their lives.
Yeah, I came to that one run and I saw like a little, it kind of looked like like a gate, like a little garden. And then there were just the tombstones or actually whatever they were on, just the pictures of all the kids who had been killed or affected.
Well, yeah, the first 2 years really focused on Connor. And we got a lot of people from Notre Dame and other cross-country teams. I mean, it was amazing because cross-country runners, they train in the streets. So you want them to be safe. So that was a lot about that. And then I knew I always wanted to say, well, it wasn't just Connor. I mean, right now we know that 12 teenagers die in our nation every day. So I knew there was more. Unfortunately, we became friends every day. Actually, I was just in an event, and this is a very sobering statistic from AAA, who does a lot of work in this area, AAA Foundation. 1,009 people are affected by distracted driving daily. 9 are killed, and 1,000 are seriously injured. That's a pretty amazing number. And the way AAA demonstrated at an event I was at, and I really wanted to do this myself, they had 1,009 pairs of shoes that were donated, and they put them all up. I mean, it was an amazing visual. That's a lot of people. That doesn't even include your fender benders or the people that weren't seriously injured. So, I mean, this is a big,
it's huge.
Big deal.
And it's one of those things too. And I think it's kind of like cancer. Like you have compassion for people or you have, care for them or you pray for them. But until you get it,
right,
you have no idea what the road is.
I agree.
And you hear about people dying. It's like, well, that's an interesting statistic. But when it actually touches you, I can't even imagine like saying facts and then saying, no, you have no idea.
I know.
You have no idea.
Well, it's touched you. It touches communities. It touches states. And it just learned it's not really traffic safety as much as this is a public health epidemic because more people are dying from this than from measles.
Or a Zika.
Or Zika. Well, or almost anything. So
can I ask, can we talk about it?
Sure.
Because we have never spoken about it. And
I'm making sure the Kleenex is close
by.
Let's
put them on our laps.
Oh,
Here, give me that Kleenex box and I'm going to put it right by me.
Thank you.
Because as a mother, as a parent, we all know the worst thing that could ever happen is a child dying. What?
I didn't really think about that. Like, I was raising my boys, and I had 3 boys in 5 years. You know, you've had your kids very close together. I know. It was
3
a crazy
boys
5
too.
years.
That's a lot of male energy
and
bouncing
all
off the
of
walls.
them walked at 9 months. So, I mean, it was kooky, and they were active, and we just did so much. I don't think I ever stopped to think about the worst case scenario.
No, but I did a little post right before this, Facebook Live, saying that you were coming on about your foundation. And I just said, hey, parents, what's the worst thing that could happen? They all said your kid dies.
Yeah.
Like that.
You know, I had, speaking of cancer, I had cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. I thought that was the worst thing, you know, but no, not even close. And thank God I was able to beat that. But
Eve was sick the other night.
Yeah.
And holding her head and saying, please make it stop. I don't know if she was having a migraine and then puking and puking. And I was looking at her, and that was so hard for me to see her suffering.
I know.
And then if they die, you know what I mean? It's just so much of your heart and the tapestry of who you are.
Well, listen, Connor was right in the middle of getting his driver's license. He was 16. So I was worried about him, you know, driving and getting injured by somebody while he was driving. I wasn't thinking that he was going to be crossing. He didn't get his driver's license. I mean, I wasn't thinking he was going to be crossing the street. I mean, I just really was something you don't think about on a daily basis till it happens to somebody, to you or somebody you know very well. I mean, you're right.
The crazy thing about life is it gives you your thing. Connor gave you your thing to go spread your angel wings and make a difference on the planet. And something cool, I think personally, about people who die younger, like even in utero or after or whatever, they came to give the gift. And they're back in the stars where we, I think, really are. And
I try to think that too.
I think you're with him right now, and you're both watching down and we're talking.
Oh, you're giving me chills.
So I just want to say,
I think he made it to the finish line. Like he was there first, right? He finished. He got to the race, which he was always very competitive and wanted to be the first one there. He came in fast and hard. He came in fast and hard. I know.
Received from you, loved you, and then passed to you the baton. How to change the world.
Oh my gosh, so much chills through my body, and I always feel like when there's chills. That's
I have
truth.
Them too.
It's truth, you know, whenever someone speaks the truth, I know I get that all the time. And right now, just, you know, quite a bit.
Me too.
So I believe what you're saying. It helps in some ways. But
and I can also feel his presence too, which I think is why my body's doing the chill things, that he's like, yes, 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 she's hearing it.
Well, I'll tell you, to kind of go back to traveling, I mean, one of the things that happens when you do go through this, you know, type of event, personally, tragedy or family, is that, and I don't know what to call it, I don't know the right word. Is it a gift? It's kind of a trade-off. It's kind of a side effect of having that, is that obviously, you know, time changes and you know that tomorrow's not promised. I mean, we know that intellectually, but emotionally, I was given that. So I know things have to be done now. You know, there's no waiting for tomorrow, waiting for your life to start, waiting to do stuff. Now, people who haven't had something like this happen to them, they work on that. They listen to other people, they talk, they have to do things to get them to get to that place. That's what a lot of workshops do. So in a way, this is like I'm already there. I'm pushed forward, and I know that.
And you're living
it. I'd like
it.
to be able to show people that. Yeah.
And that's what I love. And I want to get into the details of it because I don't know. And I know so many people who are going to be listening have lost a child.
Right.
And to hear someone talk through it and feel it and share about it and the stages of it. And what I think is the most beautiful, besides the gifts and that you had that with him and you're going to be with him forever, is that who you are right now. So for the people who have just lost a child, there is a bright ass light that you will become if you allow yourself to feel and move through the grief.
It's amazing. I think you're right. It was something that just happened. But I think that for people who haven't lost someone too, I think the reason they enjoy seeing and hearing the stories and seeing the travel is because they think, if that happened to me, would I be able to get up? Would I be able to hike to Mount Everest? Would I be able to do that? It looks like I will be, so I can go on. I mean, really,
I can see it's possible.
Right, because if you thought about what might happen with the statistics that we have, you wouldn't walk out the house. You wouldn't let your kids go anywhere. You wouldn't get in a vehicle, and you wouldn't cross the street. So there has to be some sort of hope that, okay.
No, just seeing you.
We're going to be okay.
Seeing you is hope.
Oh, thank you.
Because really, I'm always blown away. How in the hell has she become this from that? Even when my thoughts of the heaviness and the earth shattering and the depression and the grief but you have risen, not only that, but to a place where you have freedom from it.
Yeah, a little bit. You're right. I mean, a lot, but
to go by yourself to China.
I'll tell you, what was hard. We did the run and you came, and I'd love to talk about that because you were fantastic. It was so much fun. And we had thousands of people at that run.
That was a blast.
I did do it for 7 years. And even though it was only a day, it was only that morning, it took like 3 months of working 24 hours a day. So it came to a point in time where I was like, and speaking with my assistant, because we're only like 2 people who do the work of 100, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. And it was a very hard thing to do because I thought so many people were relying on us. They enjoyed doing the run. Let's keep it going. We get new people every year. So that was messaging to new people, to young people. And I really felt like it was very hard. I felt like I'm really letting people down. But the opposite has happened. It's given me new opportunities to do other things.
Yes.
And also in my travel. I mean, even going to Mount Everest, I meet people and give Connor's bracelet. I don't know if you have one of these. We might have to give one of these to you.
I don't have that.
And I've given you some pins that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But I mean, so now we're sharing a message globally. And this woman that I met from Austria, she was so great. She dedicated her hike to Mount Everest for Connor, a boy that she'd never met before. And isn't that amazing?
That's so beautiful. And I also love the whole point of, if you stay in the same park, you don't grow.
I never thought about it. I mean, of course.
But if you go into the world with your story, by the way, I want to help you shape your power story.
Okay.
So you can go get on speaking circuits and be on the television shows and spread your message, because the platforms we have now reach millions around the world.
I would love to do that. It's a perfect time. I've been thinking about doing that. Oh my gosh. I mean, seriously, in the last 3 weeks, thinking about doing that.
I'm good at that. And I would love to help you. And you're coming to my workshop this weekend.
I am.
And we're going to be working on the power story very lightly, but it's something that I would be happy to work on with you moving forward.
As signed up for the workshop, there was a survey that came out and said, what do you want to get out of the workshop? And I just saw it yesterday. I'm like, I don't know. I know I just want to go. But now I know. I mean, clearly that's what I know. I mean, I just figured that out. This happens to me all the time.
Because in a park, doing for others was a great foundation for you to begin to build your message and connect with people. Now you have that. So that organically falls to the side.
Sure.
But a foundation you're standing on from it.
Right.
Then you go out into the world with your message.
I'd like to do that.
And you hit bigger. Yeah, I'm excited to help you with that.
The runs were great because it did allow us to do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
And with that fundraising, we were able to make some movies and some public service announcements that we did with David.
Yes.
One of my favorite ones that we show at high schools all the time. They love that one. And it allowed us to meet so many people.
Yeah.
And allowed us to give money to so many other organizations that are working across the country and nationally.
And it's going to go global.
It allowed us to travel. Do you know, we went global. I went to Geneva and Brazil for the Road Safety Film Festival and took the movie David's PSA and showed it nationally. So, I mean, there's so much you can do. But speaking, I really would like to
You're going to get in it, girl. I'm going to help you.
All right.
And so I just want to take a pause because I want to hear about it.
I know.
But I want to take a pause here to say The things that happen in our life are not just, I can't believe it happened. No, they're purposeful.
They're not random.
They're not random. Nothing's random.
They seem random, right?
Nothing's random.
Yeah.
But when we're in victim mode, it's why me
Yeah.
and why Connor and all of that. But then when you get your sea legs back and you can stand up and breathe, you can either choose at that time when you stand up, I'm going to choose to remain a victim and be paralyzed by this one moment for the rest of my life and hold myself back from life. Or I'm going to think, how can I use this heartache to be a servant of change?
I did have that moment. I don't remember when it happened, but I did have that moment.
You have to because the grieving's so heavy.
Yeah, I just said either I'm going to choose not to live or choose to live. And really that's all the moment was. It was really just like a light, you know. I don't remember anything more remarkable about it.
And what I see you is a woman living.
Thank you.
So your choice is just vibrant.
Yeah, and I don't remember how it happened. I think just, it was almost like cancer. When I had cancer too, I kept working. I remember skiing. And I remember my family saying to my doctor, she won't stop, you know, she won't rest. She keeps wanting to do things. And we're really concerned that that's not good. And my doctor said, if that's the way she wants to deal with this, let her do what she wants to do.
Yes, that you're doing stuff that brings you joy.
And I'm like, why is I going to sit in a room and, you know, look at four walls? So I think and I was a little bit, I mean, I did everything I was supposed to do. I was a little bit in denial. I thought if I just, you know, do everything. And I think the same thing, I kind of used the same process. It's the only thing I knew.
Yeah.
Once Connor died and once I could really think about it, I wanted to do something.
Yeah.
And once I found out about this distracted driving epidemic that I don't think we knew about in 2010.
No.
I mean, I didn't know there was a National Teen Safe Driving Week. I mean, and you had a 16-year-old killed by an 18-year-old. I mean, that made me think, wow, there's something here.
Have you talked to that girl?
No, I haven't. Unfortunately,
because you couldn't.
She wasn't from a very good family. I don't even know if her mom appeared at her sentencing, which she also didn't get any time. So that's a hard thing to talk about. But she was, you know, she wasn't a very good student. She had a lot of challenges. I don't even think it was her car. You know, she wasn't licensed. I mean, she just made a lot of poor choices. So
do you have anger, hate, forgiveness, compassion? What do you have
goodness,
for her?
When you hear about people who forgive, you know, people who've killed
your baby,
their baby, or people. I mean, I've seen just on the news, you know, somebody's sister was shot and the brother hugged
in the courtroom.
I mean, I'm not there. I don't really know her, but I do know one thing. I have presented and met and become friends with people who have taken people's lives. A really good friend of mine, Reggie Shaw, he was 17 when he killed 2 people when he was texting on his phone. He's been on shows before and he's just had a baby.
Can I tell you about forgiveness, what I think it means?
Yeah, tell me, because when I see him, that, you know I forgive, because how could I be friends with him if, you know, I wasn't really forgiving, but please.
Here's what forgiveness means to me. It does not mean that you are letting the other person off the hook. It actually has nothing to do with the other person. It means that you choose to no longer suffer when you think about that person.
Wow. Then if that's the case, then I think I have done that. And working with people who have been in the same situation she was in, who've really made it their mission to educate other people about what can happen if you take someone's life, and they're going to tell you. And Reggie tells people in no uncertain terms. I mean, he was in jail. So it's kind of shocking. He spoke with me at Notre Dame one time when I was presenting. I mean, and the kids were just like, whoa. So you never know what's going to impact somebody.
Why did he get jail time and your girl didn't?
You know, I'm not really sure. I think he was in a different state in Los Angeles, there was so much, especially at that time, the prosecutors were really focusing on gang violence. So you don't get to be prioritized.
Oh.
And I believe now I've spoken to some prosecutors. There, one in particular who left and is now working for, towards road safety and against traffic violence, which is a term that we've coined recently.
So tell me about that. So you don't say crash anymore because that's too general.
Well, I'll tell you, I have Connor Lynch Foundation. Then I joined SoCal Families for Safe Streets. And I just got back from New York on the Vision Zero conference. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because crash, not accident, is one of the initiatives.
Oh, that's it. You want to use the word crash.
You want to use crash.
Crash, because it's actually a crash. It's not an accident because you're choosing.
You'll love this. Yeah, absolutely. Accident, we have kids. If they want to get out of responsibility, aren't they always saying it was an accident?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
It was beyond my control. And so the insurance industry really coined this phrase for traffic collisions. And we've been using this term. Remember, you have there's accident reports on the news. There was an accident. It's not, and it makes it seem like it's
if you're making choices that led to it, it's not an accident.
Well, sure. And if you are drunk when you get in your vehicle, we know that's not an accident. We know there's levels of intent. And right now we have so much information. We know when you get in your car and you intend to use your phone, it's not going to be accidental when you hit somebody or kill somebody or worse, right?
So you can know I'm choosing to get on my phone and I'm choosing to set up the possibility to injure or kill someone right now.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important for people to hear because that's shifting me even more.
It's words. Words have meaning and words make impact. And it's really important.
Another thing, I remember I used to mount my...
Oh, I know. I thought about this when I was coming to see you.
I used to mount my video and I could, because I do have so much going on with 5 kids and trying to do all my stuff. So I would just push record and record myself while I'm driving and telling a story, whatever. And then some fellow really came on strong and said, how dare you represent Connor Lynch? And how dare you put those videos? Like that would be.
And I messaged you.
And then I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Hey, look.
No, but I stopped.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have awareness that was distracted driving too.
I know. I'm working with a new executive director of LA Walks. LA Walks is a group in Los Angeles that promotes walking. Well, he's new. And we were doing a conference with our members and one of them couldn't be at the meeting. So she's on a conference call and she's driving. I'm like, you guys, I can't be in this. I mean, they're advocates. She lost her son, but she didn't realizing. So I said, I can't be involved in this conference when you're doing that. And one of the other members who also lost her grandson said, well, you're not responsible for her actions. And I said, but I am responsible. I do not want to distract her. I would be responsible for engaging with her while she's doing
her behavior.
Right. Or causing it. I mean, there have been cases where, and we have to remember this as parents are constantly texting their kids or calling them and saying, get back to me. Why aren't you texting me back?
While they're driving.
Right. And so the director, John, says, oh my gosh, he goes, I just realized that if my partner's driving and I text him, that I could be responsible for distracting him. It was this whole moment of everybody realizing. And of course, I'd known this, but I'm sure at some point someone had to explain it to me too. I mean, we shouldn't be trying to...
an app that you could put that's built in your phone. You can just say, hey, Siri, I'm driving. And then everyone who tries to reach out to you says, I'm driving.
It does do that on Apple. I'm going to show you how you can do it.
We'll do that on my phone.
That's very helpful. Also, we're just trying to change behaviors. Just put your phone in your glove compartment or, I got to tell you.
Somebody said put your phone in your trunk when you're driving because then you don't have any sort of ability to reach for it.
Because we're addicted to our phones. Yeah. And we could do a whole podcast on that. But I think, after Connor died, I turned my phone to silent. It vibrates. My phone has been on silent for 9 years.
Tell me the day he died. Where were you?
Oh, it's always the hard part. But I happened to be at home that day. I just come back from getting my hair done, and I usually worked, so I'd taken time to go do that, and I was at home, and Connor had called me. This is funny because you have kids, and we're always in such a hurry, and he called me because he wanted to fill out the application for, the thing they do when they're helping. And they were juniors, so they were going to either Kairos service, and he wanted to do that, and he needed his insurance information. And I'd already given it to him probably like 24 hours ago. And I was like, okay, oh my God, I'm in the middle of something. All right, I'll get it. I was kind of a little bit pained by doing it. And I read it out. It's like 20,
I would have
it's
yelled
like
at my
20
son.
numbers. I know.
I've already done this. Why are you doing this?
It's exactly what I did, of course. And that was like, and he was like, thank you. And that was the last time, of course, I spoke to him, which of, keep that in mind.
But I want to say real quick about that. We do our rigmarole, and you took care of him.
I know, of course.
So you met his need.
Of course.
But he's got to get an earful. He's a kid.
I know, of course, because we want them to remember. So what had happened was giving that information, they wanted to make sure they got their applications in. He was a little bit later to cross-country practice than he would have otherwise been. And I learned this later because I produced a little movie about Connor's that day and Connor's story, and it's on YouTube.
I saw it. It's beautiful.
Right. So you remember one of the guys said, we usually, cross the street. We jaywalked across the street. We all go together. But this day we didn't. And Connor went and probably thought everybody was going after him. And, it was right in the middle. Woodman's a very big street, 2 lanes going both ways. And he was thrown, 100 yards. There was no braking. It was a bright, clear day. And that's how we know that, you don't run into, he was 6'1", size 13 shoe. He's standing in the middle of the street. You need to be focused on driving. She didn't stop. She claims she didn't think she hit anybody, which her windshield, they allowed me to see the pictures of the windshield. It was cracked. She's clearly. So he was thrown to the other side of the street where there's a bench now. It's been there.
Yeah, I see it every day.
And it became recognized as one of the first rainbow halos in Los Angeles. We're doing 100 halos by the end of the year throughout Los Angeles, through Families for Safe Streets and through Department of Transportation that are representing places in Los Angeles where people were killed.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a beautiful rainbow prism that a wonderful artist, I don't want to get his name wrong right now, John, he's pretty renowned. He made a prism that has oil, and so the light shines through the prism every day at a different time, sometimes not, because it might be, a cloudy day. And he explained it when they were doing the installation that, it shows the fragility and the amorphous nature of life, that, every light that shines through it is always a different one because, constantly moving in time.
Everything's changing.
I know. It's pretty amazing. But anyway,
I can't wait to notice that next time I pass.
I want you to. That's where he was thrown, coming from across the street. So
you were in your room.
I was at
looking
home.
At your new hair.
Yeah, it's funny because I had gotten a Brazil straightening that day. And you know what? I've never been able to get one ever since then.
Oh,
I know. It was terrible. Yeah, sad. Some things are just like that.
Who called you?
Well, it was the principal of the school. And at that time, okay, so thinking about the worst things that can happen to your kid, because of course when a principal calls you, I say this actually in Connor's movie, but I remember thinking he cheated on a test. Because I'm running a school, by the way. I'm running Pinecrest, which was 18 months to 8th grade. So when, a principal calls, it's like there was a fight. He maybe didn't come to school. Maybe he was injured, training for something. I never thought. And when she said the words like, are you sitting down? Of course, I can't even say them without getting emotional because, I've seen enough movies and read enough
when she
stories.
Said, are you sitting down?
When anybody says, are you sitting down? I just knew that this was far worse than cheating on a test. It's really hard to go back to that day, obviously, because, talk about, you just can't really, you can't really wrap your head around it. That's for sure. And so that whole day
and you said, yeah, I'm sitting down, and they said your son was hit. And
it died.
He's dead?
I really think if I really thought about it, I mean, I could probably remember exactly what she said.
No, but just
but
hearing
basically
that.
it was like that. And she said it in a way like she was crying, and she never wanted to have to say that to anybody. She's not in the field that you do that. I mean, she probably was a little bit broken by this. I certainly know that the president of Pinecrest Schools, of Notre Dame High School, he's still nothing, has never experienced anything like that in all the years that he's been running schools, which is, like 3 decades. So when she told me, she almost screamed it and was crying. I mean, she couldn't help herself. She couldn't become
so
about
primal.
it herself. It really wasn't. She didn't want to do it. And, we all became very bonded over this, but I think I just screamed. I don't really remember. Moments before that, my dogs had gotten out of the house, and my friend and I, we were working on computers. We had been chasing the dogs and screaming because they were puppies and, they didn't know anything about running through streets. I mean, we were gathering them up to keep them safe. Now they think about it. I never thought about the coincidence of that time period. We were frantic. And I'll tell you, I'm always scared that my dogs are going to get out the door and run into the street to this day. Things that imprint on you. And then that day was, just kind of surreal. I remember almost every moment.
Did you leave your house and go look? Or go?
No,
Did they take him immediately to the hospital?
They wouldn't let me go to the scene. And when I say they wouldn't let me, I mean everybody that was there. It was not a good place to go.
No.
I mean, the one thing...
And it's such a personal thing to have all those people around too.
I don't think it was a good thing to see. I mean, Connor was killed instantly. The part that's very hard, and this is why I really believe hit and run drivers, should face the consequences of time, no matter if they leave 1 minute or 10 minutes or 2 days. I mean, a person who's driving hit a person and left that person to die alone. Nobody should die alone. I mean, sometimes things do happen, and you might have even been distracted or something else happened, but you can't be the only...
Do you think he died laying there, or do you think he died when he was hit from the injuries?
I hope he died when he was hit from the injuries. I'm pretty sure from how the crash was and how far he was thrown. So far, when you see these pictures, and I've seen a few now because I know so many people who've had this happen. I mean, his shoes were knocked off. I mean, so wow. and I've gone to the bench enough times, and people have left notes, and people have come out to see me. Even one just recently when we had the press conference for the Rainbow Halo, who tell me they were there at the time and try to tell me what they did and that they were to take care of him. I mean, they heard the crash. It was so loud. They heard it from the apartment buildings across the street. So Good Samaritans, I mean, just neighbors came out, and they were also never the same after it. I don't know, there's something just about that whole situation that made a lot of people, their lives were really changed. And if you think about how many people's lives, because we know how many, fatalities are happening daily. That's why I say it's a public health epidemic. But I did feel better when they told me that they stayed with him. Obviously, that was the hardest part, is not being able to protect your baby. And,
to
mom,
be with them.
Yeah. And not being able to do anything, can't change anything. I'll be at your workshop on the 19th, and I'm glad I'll be there because for the past 8 years, a couple times I've been lucky enough to be in Washington, D.C. and speaking on Connor's Angel Day to youth organization there and presenting his story. But other times I will drive to that area, and I'll be there at 3:00 because it happened about 3:15. And I will stay there and watch the clock tick by and watch where he would have been and watch, which I don't know if it's a good thing to do or a healthy thing to do.
It's exactly what you need to do, which means it's perfect.
Yeah, maybe you're right. So I won't be doing that because I'll be with you.
Take my hand.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you how honored I am and how proud I am of you for dropping one thing and being open for a new thing and what's coming for you. And I'm so excited I get to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you.
And
I know you're right.
And I don't
I
take I don't take it lightly that you're going to be there. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, you said come, and I said, wow, it's during Connor's Angel Day time. And
the good thing is I didn't know.
No.
Or I might not have impeded on you. Like,
no, but then I was like, I'm going to do this. I am making time. I want to do this. It wasn't really like, it was just one of those things.
And I was like, oh, there's Jeri's name. She's always fun. She'd be fun energy down in the room. Jeri, get your ass here. It's just so beautiful how things work out.
And I did it mostly for not thinking about it. I did it mostly because I said the same thing. I love Leigh. Oh my God, I love all these people. I've just read about grounding because I have my own grounding mat. So Mariel Hemingway, yay. I'm so excited. And I really didn't know why else I was doing it. What other reason? And now I have a real purpose for being there.
Part of my thing when I talk about it to other people, I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's going to touch you to be intimate with yourself in a really beautiful way that allows you to be with other people in a new way. And I was thinking of all these gifts people are going to be receiving from other people. Mm-hmm. But for me right now, talking to you is really remembering too that I have equal to the other speakers things to share. Yeah. And I'm so excited to have that time with you and to begin our relationship in this way.
Neat. It's just crazy and wonderful. And you're right. I think I heard someone say this at the Vision Zero conference because we're meeting with people from across the nation who have lost people, that they said when I would give up and give in and allow things to happen,
Oh, it's the best.
They were able to, even people who have surviving cancer, that there's so many lessons. And if you can listen to them and maybe impart them to other people, I think that's really all we're here to do.
That's it.
To share.
That's it.
And love.
Yeah. And that's all I do with my stuff and I'm constantly being dropped to my knees. There's new things when a big one subsides, a really horrifically juicy one cold cocks me.
And I'm not a real workshop person. The workshop I just went to was Vision Zero. So it's really talking about how to work with media and statistics and what are great bike lanes and things. So I was a little bit
connect to your heart and your power.
No, I know. Yeah. I was listening as getting ready for this podcast. I was listening to your podcast, which there's so many. It was hard. I was like, I didn't give myself enough time. But I caught one this morning where you were talking about, you were being interviewed on the podcast about mindfulness. And you were like, well, what is mindfulness? And you kind of had to think about it and discover it. And it was such an interesting experience to watch because that must have been one that you've done quite a while ago because now you really do know and you always did know, but we were able to give a definition. And I think that's really kind of amazing. So I'm going to this workshop in a way that I wouldn't. And when you were talking about it, you were like, I'm really not into kind of yah stuff, and I was thinking, this isn't really something I would do. But I think because of all the people there, because of you, and just because of wanting to learn different methods of sharing things with other people and being open, it's very hard to be open about how this has affected my life. It's difficult.
How has it affected your life?
Well, it's difficult every day. I'm still a broken person. I probably always will be. Yeah. So learning to live with that.
And what does that mean? Does that mean that you wake up and all of a sudden you have an overwhelming heavy pain?
That happens a lot. But that happens when I'm just walking down the street and I see a little boy walking with his mom, and if God forbid if they have red hair, then I really get emotional. it can happen at any time.
Constant reminders of your baby.
Constant reminders.
And I have to tell you something about that from a spiritual perspective to allow just a new thought around that is that Connor is more powerful than we are right now because, no, that's not true because we have that stars inside of us and that power as well if we remember to tap into it. Mm-hmm. But he's just a brilliant star right now. And he can bring himself in front of you quite often to maybe say hello or I'm thinking about you, or I love you.
Right.
So when you see a little boy with red hair, you can say, hi, baby, I see you.
I do. I do that with butterflies quite a bit. And I'm always like, hi, baby, because I see them in the craziest places and always on the trails when I'm hiking.
We went out to eat for Mexican food once and having margaritas, and I was like, can I tell you something that keeps coming up to me? And I don't remember what it was. But I was like, I feel like I need to tell you this, and I don't remember what it was.
I know. I remember.
It was something that, and I was like, not a big...
And you know what's kind of funny about that meeting?
And I wasn't tapped into like hearing my stuff yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about this time. And what's funny about that is we had so much fun. We were catching up and we were learning about each other and we were having margaritas. And I had overscheduled, as you do. And you had to drop me off at a neighborhood bunco game. So we had gone from this really high fun, but also knowing that there was a spiritual connection and talking about things that were very deep and really, really creative and inspiring. And then I went to bunco, which isn't even a game that you really have to think about, And
you just get a drink.
Well, they already had drank with you.
Yeah, right.
Except for people seem very competitive about this bunco game. Needless to say, it was kind of anticlimactic, and I didn't go back to play bunco. But I do remember that experience, knowing that, okay, bunco's fun, and you get to meet your neighbors, and it's fun to socialize. But I wanted to have a more serious conversation, and I do like to do that. I like to be silly and frivolous.
I love to be silly and frivolous,
right?
But I also love to tap into my heart.
Yeah, and so part of thinking about why I wanted to go to the workshop too is there's so many. I'm sure people that can be silly and frivolous, but people with really great messages. And I'm a person who wants to learn.
There will be laughing, but a lot of crying, laughing equal.
Right.
And it's more about a safe place to open your heart.
Yeah.
And to allow yourself to be more than where we are.
Well, and why wouldn't I go to that? It's sort of a natural. So I'm very lucky that I just hopped on board, and I'm looking
so
forward
happy and
to
proud
it.
of you. We have no time left, but I want to do, we have a little bit.
An hour went by?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know when you're like an hour, and I was like, oh, dude, we can't even get it all in. So what I want to say to you now is, will you say something for the listeners who have lost a child and who are feeling broken and so heavy? Can you say something about...
Well, listen, I do. Thank you for giving me this time, because I do want to say, if you are in the Southern California area, I would love them to connect with me through SoCal Families for Safe Streets. What we do is we're there to kind of shoulder each other and help each other and answer questions and, work together too as advocates. But grief support is part of what we do when we're just in a group together. So that would be great. But I mean, really, I don't know what else to say, because for me, it was channeling my grief into advocacy. And we do need to share stories. That's the gift that we have, is sharing stories.
Storytelling.
And storytelling is hard because we relive the moment and the emotion that I just was here doing. And it is hard. But people need to hear our stories because it's so important.
When you are vulnerable, whatever your story is, and you're sharing in a vulnerable way, it allows the other people to feel safe and to connect. And to want to care deeply about you. And then they're all into your mission.
And so we've talked about these statistics, 11 people dying every day. But if you don't have the story and you don't have the person's face or talk to the mom or the family, I think that makes the difference.
How
so we
can
need
people
the stories.
Look up your organization?
Okay, so I'm looking at a button. I was just at Vision Zero, and they made these buttons.
He's so cute, by the way.
Yeah, he was really cute.
Darling.
He was a perfect child. He really was.
Like, well, you took the best one.
I really did. And my
I was like, you took
by the way,
my
kids who are now 24 and 21, and actually I have some, I can't remember right now. They believe that too. They think that too. No, they're great kids. But yeah, the Connor Lynch Foundation. I'm on
and
Facebook.
It's one N.
It's one N. And also
CONORLYNCH.
Thank you for saying that. And it's also in honor of Connor. And then Southern California Families for Safe Streets is a group that I work with, and we're trying to grow. I'd like to grow nationally, really. I'd like to be a national group.
Let's say globally.
Globally, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, of course.
And keep your eye out, because this little lady is going to be coming to speak soon and will be available to speak at your organization or to someone who's struggling.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would love to with your help and encouragement. And
I got you.
And we'll get through next week. I'm presenting at Notre Dame High School to the freshman class. So I do that every year. And it's a great experience. So I'd love to be able to reach more people for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I love you, and I'm so honored you're going to be with me on his birthday in heaven.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leigh.
Will you give me a hug?
Oh my gosh. I need more Kleenex too.
Let's stand up. I like the stand-up hug. I love you. Thank you, Connor, for your life and your mom's mission.
Thank you. We can do this.
You've done it, girl.